Hello and welcome to the TechBytes audiocast. My name's Tim and I'm from the TechBytes blogazine, and with me is Dr. Roy Shestowitz from the TechBytes website.
It's Friday night and I'm gonna get sauce. I fought the troll and the troll lost. I fought the troll and the troll lost. He tried to boss me and was outbossed. I fought the troll and the troll lost. I fought the troll and the troll lost. Underneath his Freebird Bridge, hoping goats will cross. Quoting Ashcroft and Tom Ridge.
Hello and good evening to episode 30 of the TechBytes show. A bit of good news today. Gordon's back with us, and so we've got a full team on tonight, myself, Roy and Gordon. So without further ado, we'll crack on with the show, which is going to be rather interesting because we haven't even mentioned what we're going to be talking about tonight. I know Roy's got his mind set on a few subjects, and I've certainly got a few in my mind, so hopefully we won't cross paths and we'll all have something different to add. Gordon's going to be a complete surprise because he's we just connected with him. So, gentlemen, is there anybody who would like to start? Roy or Gordon?
I think it's better to start with some news, mostly things coming out of FOSDEM, which took place over the weekend. And before that, I don't think we talked about the Australian conference, which was attended by Linus Torvalds, and quite a few interesting presentations and things occurring. And the later conference, the one in Europe, in Brussels, in fact, was funded by Microsoft. Which I think is a topic we didn't discuss before, and that's the fact that Microsoft likes to fund free software events, free open source, whatever it wants to call that. Obviously, Microsoft would want to try and tilt things towards the kind of open source banner because it's more convenient for Microsoft to embrace freedom. And that kind of bothered me, and I wrote some articles about it. And I just wonder what you guys think about the fact that they do so.
Well, was the Brussels event, was that the one mentioned by Fab from the Linux Outlaws?
Yes, he attended the
yeah,
show, and
right.
also a colleague of his, or a co-host, that's, what's his name, Dan, I think?
Dan, yes.
Yeah.
Dan Lynch, I think.
They had a very successful attempt to bring together enough funds for him to fly over to Brussels, and I think it took them only a few hours to get enough money from listeners. Listeners of the show, Linux Outlaws, for those who don't know, to fund his flight ticket and stay and everything else so that he can attend the event, which he did.
I mean, if I was being skeptical, and I would think that it's a win-win situation for Microsoft. If I was being skeptical, one could argue that by Microsoft sponsoring this event, they can play that card at a later date to show their support of open source when their business model, to me, is completely against everything that open source software stands for. But that's academic. And also, it would maybe put off a lot of people. Maybe a lot of people have had such bad experiences and bad opinions of Microsoft.
There is also a third win here. It's a win-win-win-win situation. And I'm not the only person who wrote about this, and some people have contacted Richard Stallman about it, and he gave a very, very good response, and a very polite response to explain what Microsoft is trying to achieve here. One of the third, I think there is a third and a fourth. You've mentioned the first two. One of the things that happens in these events, some people feel very uncomfortable with Microsoft attending the events, and they do things or say things or react in certain things which allow Microsoft to come and say, oh, look at these people, they're very, very intolerant, and also trying to distance or to separate the people who are tolerant of Microsoft and those who are supposedly the zealots or the extremists or whatever, and say, oh, look at these people, they don't accommodate us, and we're all very nice and smiling during the event. That's kind of the less frequently discussed issue. And I know Fab has had quite a bit of issues with Microsoft sponsoring, and then, of course, as part of the sponsorship, they want to get something back. So things like keynotes where they talk about their platforms and about their ideology. He was complaining about and giving a keynote in Linux Tech 2010, which was in Germany. And he's from Germany himself, from Bonn. So they do it in almost every event, but the interesting thing is, back then, as opposed to in this case, they were going into a Linux event, and not an event that's kind of focused or themed around the notion of free open source software. It was actually a Linux event.
I personally, I haven't read up on any of those. I was just going off a brief memory of what Fab mentioned in regards to Brussels and Microsoft attending. So if it was a pure Linux event, I still say it's the same thing. Microsoft would love to be able to say, oh yes, we support open source software, especially Linux that people claim is our competitor, yet we're open enough to support them, support the Linux platform as well. Just my view. Sorry, Gordon, we're cutting you out here. Is there anything you wanted to chip in with?
No, not really. I mean, the only sort of thing that I can think of, really, and it just slipped my mind as I was saying that. No, I don't know. I think it comes down to a target audience, because each convention is a different audience. You've got some audiences who are like the commercial, the corporate audience, where the ticket prices are so high, they're so exclusive, and the only people that you see wandering about are corporate IT managers, all suits basically, talking to other suits, and they're all sort of doing deals with each other for figures with lots of zeros in the end, and lots of like 100,000 seat licenses for this piece of software and whatever. So I think when it comes to that kind of level, that's Microsoft's level. That's the people that they can convince, because they're not talking technology to people who know technology. They're talking technology to people who know accountants, who know accounts, who know insurance liabilities, who know FTSE 100 reputations, who know marketing, who know all that kind of stuff. And that's the people that they can get. When it comes to sponsoring events that are targeted at end users, and just individuals who turn up, who save up their own money, who invest maybe their own summer holiday money into getting a plane ticket and a hotel for a couple of days to go to see an event halfway around the world and talk to like-minded people. Microsoft are never going to be able to reach these people. If they've already been bitten by the free software bug and whatever license preference they like, whether it's BSD or GPL or whatever it is, free culture, Microsoft has lost them. They are never going to get them. So for that, I don't see the point other than to poison the well and get some PR out of it, as you've already said, to say, look, we're reaching out to these people, and they don't appreciate it. They still attack us. So I don't see any value at all in Microsoft targeting those events other than to poison the well. But the corporate ones, I can totally understand it. Because the corporate events, you're going to be talking about people in like IT procurement people in charge of hospitals, in charge of school districts, and Red Hat will be there. Novell, well, assuming they're alive and whatever guys, and various other companies will all be there. There'll be lots of companies like I was going to call them StatusNet, whatever, they'll be there. So all these different companies, whether it's free software or not, they'll be there trying to sell their wares, to sell their contracts. And Microsoft will be there as the big behemoth that's saying, well, you can trust us, we've been in the business. Everyone in the world uses Microsoft, so at least you know what you're getting with us. You don't know what you're getting with these other guys, So,
I think they used to attend to a great extent and always be welcomed. Some of these events that you mentioned, mostly organized by the Linux Foundation. When the Linux Foundation organizes events, as they do several times a year, sometimes they do an invite-only type of event. So only the big businesses, people like managers from IBM and Red Hat and companies like that, get invited. And they also invite some journalists from the outside and very meticulously select them to ensure that the coverage will be kind of positive and on topic. So it's not a very open event. It's just more of an exclusive meeting about Linux, which of course was criticized because it's supposed to be a very open thing and very free thing and open to the community, when in fact it's very much the opposite. And I think they try to abstain from doing that. But one of the interesting things, though, is that they would invite people like Sam Ramji, and all kinds of executives who are supposedly in interoperability. They have those labs, and each time they bring some new guy who's supposed to be like the negotiator